Kyle Workman, in fairness, I will acknowledge that his dad serves with me in the legislature and sits 2 seats over from me, which is closer than anybody really wants to be. And with him is Ben Lamont, the Grimes County judge, and they're going to split the time of the opponents. And then again, after that, we will have our rebuttal time. Can we get to the third PowerPoint presentation?
Good evening. I'm going to grab my little clicker here. Thank you, Travis. I don't know if I can figure it out. Yes, my name is Kyle Workman. I'm the president of Texans Against High-Speed Rail. I'm going to talk a little bit about high-speed rail from our perspective, and then I'll pass it over to Judge Lamont here to have him share some of his thoughts as well. If I can figure out how to operate. There we go. Texans Against High-Speed Rail is a volunteer organization established over a year and a half ago once we found out about this particular project. Here's a list of those people that are the volunteers. We have volunteers all up and down the corridor. And that corridor actually stretches, of the 10 counties that will be affected, there's 8 counties that are opposed to it. And so we have volunteers in all those 8 counties. There's a little bit of our mission statement. You can go to our website and figure all that out. I just wanted to show you that we actually do have one. All right, audience participation. Who is willing to donate their property or be forced to sell it for less than what it's worth to you? Anybody? Interesting. Who is willing for their neighbor to donate their property or be forced to sell it for what is less than to them? No. All right, just checking. All right. Who's willing to subsidize high-speed rail in the state of Texas? Oh, hey, we got a couple. We got a couple there. All right. And who believes it's too big to fail and will receive a bailout when it does fail? Yeah. I think I do. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is 2 main topics today. There's a whole bunch of topics we could talk about. We're going to try to focus on 2 because of the limited time. We'll have some good Q&A. We'll be able to answer some more questions. Number 1 is the project's financial feasibility, i.e. the inevitable taxpayer subsidy. 2 would be the eminent domain piece. We're going to talk about that in a little bit greater detail. Number 1 is if Texas Central is private, then they must take out loans, which means they'll have to pay those loans back, right? TCR will only have one source of funds to pay those loans back to cover operation and maintenance costs, what they call fare box fares, or ticket prices. So let's take a look at some numbers here. On HSR projects, ridership is almost always significantly overstated and the costs are always significantly understated. So this is a recipe for a failure. This project is no different than any other. See California, that's Exhibit A, right? For example, TxDOT, on this particular project, TxDOT projected there'd be 700,000 to 2.7 million riders for this corridor. TCR's projection is 4 million riders, okay? Moreover, TxDOT projected the construction costs to be 18.3 billion, and their projection is 10. And it vacillates actually around 12. It kind of moves around a little bit. So here's the TxDOT ridership analysis for your use, if you want. You can see it right there. I'll highlight it for you. 18.3 billion, operation maintenance cost of 209 million, and the annual ridership at 2035 between 700,000 and 2.7 million. HSR projects around the world are typically replace existing passenger rail. We talked about rail and how many rail miles there are in the state of Texas. Interestingly enough, very few of them actually run passengers. And I suspect that there's a reason for that. So they typically have a built-in customer base. In this particular case, we know that we have airline and traffic data that travels between Dallas and Houston. So we know exactly how many people currently go back and forth. We can estimate really, really close to what there are. And what we believe is that these estimates suggest that the ridership that they're proposing is unattainable. And if the ridership is unattainable, then therefore the fare box revenues won't be attainable, and therefore the project will not succeed. Passenger rail in Texas is not remotely considered to be a primary mode of transportation, right? It's just not. Population density and the culture are just not conducive for this type of project. This thing's kind of slow. All right, I'm sorry for the little blurry here. This is some numbers that we ran. This is passengers per day in 2035. This is their most generous estimate of 5.7 million at $108 a ticket. That gives you a gross annual revenue of $615,600,000. And the debt service on $12 billion at 5% interest would be $600 million, which leaves only $15 million to pay for operation and maintenance. That's if you have 5.7 million riders, okay? And so once you take the O&M costs off, you see that the annual deficit is over $250 million in a loss. So you multiply that by 40 years and you're at $10 billion loss. Changing a little different numbers, if we go down to 4 million riders a year, use the same ticket price, you got your gross annual revenue of 432 million. We think that the costs are probably going to be more like the $16 to $18 billion range. So we use the $16.8 billion capital cost, and you can see that the annual deficit is $674 million. Okay? Keep going here. So I'm going to run a little different calculation, and it's hard to get this going. Based on what the real true, what we believe the actual ridership could possibly be, at 1.7 million riders, ticket price of $108. That gives the gross revenue of only $183 million, which doesn't even cover the operation and maintenance costs. And so you can see that we don't even need to look at the construction cost to determine that at the end of the day, this will not be profitable. This represents 4,600 passengers per day, which is basically 2 times the airline passengers. So that's taken every airline, everybody out of the seat in the airline, and taken another 2,000 people off the roads. And we think that's pretty optimistic. So the numbers don't, what does this mean? The numbers don't work. It will obviously fail to meet its financial obligations. Undoubtedly, the project will be determined to be too big to fail, and therefore requiring a bailout or a subsidy. Again, are you ready to subsidize this project? Think Amtrak, right? Support for this project is an endorsement for a taxpayer-subsidized high-speed rail. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, the numbers prove out. TCR will say these numbers are wrong, I will tell you, but they will refuse to give us their numbers. And so what we can do is we can go based on TxDOT's own numbers, which were published, and that's what we've done. And the math just is what it is, unfortunately. So, interestingly enough, they work very diligently to protect those ridership numbers, going as far as soliciting support through the regulatory agencies and the AG's office to protect those proprietary ridership numbers. Somehow, the way they calculate their ridership is much more proprietary than the way the TxDOT does. And so we'd like to see those numbers at some point. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Judge Lamont and let him go through his portion of it. If I can get this thing to, there we go.